Hello and welcome back to my channel. For this video, which is actually an impromptu video, which I was not planning on filming this week. I was going to start the part 2 to my stair makeover this week, but I decided I want to slip another video into the mix because I need to put together an outfit for May Day, which is a week today. May Day here in the UK is the spring bank holiday, and it's traditionally like a pagan-y festival to welcome in the spring, summer. It's when people do Morris dancing and tie ribbons around maypoles. It's very folksy and just generally nice, and lots of people will make fun kind of outfits for it. I haven't actually ever dressed up for it before because usually the group of people that I go with don't dress up. However, this year I know that at least some of the people that I'm going with have the intention of putting a little bit of effort into their outfits, and so I feel obliged / excited to do the same. And I want to put together a green ensemble that feels May Day appropriate but also feels me appropriate, something that I'm going to feel comfy in for the day because there'll be quite a lot of walking and standing around, and also you never know quite how the weather's going to go in the UK, so I want to wear something that has layers that I can take on or strip off, weather depending. Actually, last year on May Day it absolutely pissed it down, but I'm not really going to factor in too much that this outfit needs to be waterproof because if it rains, I get wet and that's it. So in order to start doing this, today I went to town and I bought a variety of things from the charity shops and also some bits from the haberdashery to try and put something together. I am certainly not an accomplished seamstress. I am not able to make clothes and pattern cut, although that is something that I really want to teach myself to do, and I think I'll probably take this channel along for the ride of that later on this year. So this is more of an upcycling type of project that I can do easily with a needle and thread. And let me start by showing you the things that I've got here that I'm hoping I'm going to assemble into some sort of coherent finished look. So first up is the only clothing item that I bought, and I thought that I could use this as a base for the outfit because it's obviously green. It's actually Donne, and it looks like it's probably maybe from the 90s. And yeah, it's just a basic shirt. This was $2.99, which I thought was a good price, and I don't feel too worried if I was to ruin it at that price. So we're going to be using this as a base to embellish, I think. Maybe now's a good time to say that I actually don't know what it is that I'm doing. I don't have a full vision in mind yet, just ideas. And this is going to be a playing around type situation where I just see what comes out. And then in the charity shop, I found this fabric, which is more of a light kind of sagey green, and it has pink and white stripes on it. I bought this because it was £1, and I thought for £1, surely I can make some use out of it. It's quite a big piece, maybe enough to do a skirt or something. It is more like upholstery fabric as opposed to clothing fabric, but I reckon we can make it work. So we got that. Then I just got a load of stuff for embellishing. I went to the haberdashery and I got 3 packs of these little green ribbon bows, which were £2 each, which is a little bit pricey maybe, but I don't mind supporting my local haberdashery, paying full price. Then it just so happened that I went to the charity shop and I found a bag of basically identical green ribbon bows for 50p. So I got these ones as well. What are the chances? Then I got just a few packs and miscellaneous bits of ribbon, also from the charity shop, and a bag or a roll each was 50p. Because the main theme I'm going for with this outfit is green plus ribbons. I also am going to whack into this video a DIY that I've been wanting to do for a short while now, which is going to be a bag to accompany the outfit. This is just a little lilac kind of canvasy handbag that I got from a charity shop, and if I remember correctly this was £1, and I did use it for a while when I got it because it's a decent size and it's got a good strap length for what I like. However, it's kind of fallen out of favour with me, and I also managed to stain this front panel of it so it looks a bit grubby, and means that I don't feel good about giving it back to a charity shop, and instead I want to keep it but cover all of this junk junk up. And since I did mention that we're going ribbon heavy on this outfit, I have purchased from eBay a job lot of dog show rosettes. Whoever's dog this was an absolute star, because they were affirmed best puppy multiple times back in 1992, which also happens to be the year that I was born, which is kind of fun. I've never had a dog myself, or a horse, or a show cat, or any kind of athletic skill that would have meant that I could have won rosettes myself. So instead I just buy them 33 years later. I have to admit, I did pay quite a bit of money for these. I got 23 of them for $19.99. But my excuse to justify that is I actually ordered them 2 weeks ago when it was my birthday, when I was really ill, and I was scrolling eBay in a bit of a daze, and I saw this job lot and just instinctively purchased. That's not something that I think is good to do a lot of the time. However, it happens. And I think that these on this bag will look really kitschy and fun. And it means that for at least a day, I can cosplay as the best puppy in my breed, which has got to be worth 20 quid, no? After I saw these ones, I did look at other job lots of rosettes on eBay, and there's quite a lot on there if you wanted to do a similar thing yourself. But I picked this bunch specifically because there is a really nice range of colours in it. They're not all just red or pink or one colour. It gives a really nice effect when they're all next to each other. This one looks like a sheriff's badge, which is quite fun. So yes, I'm just going to cover this bag in them, and I think that that will be a really, really easy thing to do. A lot of them do have safety pins on the back, which I could just pin onto the bag, but not all of them do, and I think I am going to use stitching anyway, just to make sure that they're all really securely in there. So this is the first bit of this makeover that I'm going to work on, and in the meantime I'll shove my green shirt in the wash, and once that's dry we can get going on that too. I'm just going to start pinning some in place and see if I can get them in an order that looks good to me before I start stitching them down. I'm not really a big handbag accessory person. As far as fashion items go, I was always more into clothes than I was anything else. Jewelry, makeup, bags, shoes have never really been my go-to, and I'm definitely not like a designer bag person. Can't imagine spending £1,000 plus on a bag. That just seems wild to me. But I do enjoy a kind of tacky novelty bag on occasion. I've got this one that's made of all like ripped up old plastic bags that I got from a charity shop, and I actually wear that one a lot. And I think that this guy will actually get more wear from me than a fancy leather handbag would. I mean, I don't even wear new leather goods anyway. They're just not my thing. So let me finish pinning a selection on the front of this bag, and then I'll show you the placement, because my downstairs neighbour is hammering something and it's noisy, so we might as well skip ahead. Done. This is the placement that I've gone for, and it looks suitably mad, so I'm happy with that. I'm wondering whether or not I do want to cover the back, or if I want to do something else on the back. I was thinking I could maybe paint something on it. I know I want to make a zip pull for this zip because it's never had one on there since I bought it, which makes it a bit annoying to open and close. What I'm going to do now is just start individually sewing these down onto the bag so that they all sit nicely, and then we can assess next steps. I love how easy of a project this is, because the dog rosettes are doing all of the heavy lifting. All I'm doing is putting them in place and letting them shine. I've always loved the look of a rosette, and I remember a lot of the horse girls in my school used to have a load of them, and I was always really jealous. I'm going to try first with a curved needle because I'm hoping that I can stitch just through the top layer of fabric rather than going all the way through, so that the inside of the bag isn't disturbed. Projects like this, which are more of like an assemblage of things rather than something that you need to make fully from scratch, I always really appreciate. When I was doing my art degree, I used to spend a lot of the time going around the charity shops and hardware shops and things looking for ready-made objects that I would be able to transform to use in my work, and I always found it way more inspiring than looking around just an art material shop. This has taken ages. I'm only just sewing on the last one on my top flap here. I still need to do all of the ones on the body. I literally always underestimate how long a craft is going to take. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll just sew those onto there. I could get that done in 30 30 minutes. That's not realistic. This is probably the last thing I'm going to be able to get done today. So let me put something on my laptop that I can zone out to for a while, and then I will catch back up with you once all of these rosettes are sewn onto my bag. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, it's taken a couple of hours, but it is done, and I think it looks super cute. I did have a little accident with this one. The front of it popped off when I was sewing, which is probably not surprising. This is 30-year-old glue, so I will just have to re-stick that back on with a bit of super glue. But for right now, I'm going to put this to one side. My cat has been screaming at me because it's her dinner time, so I'm going to go and feed her, feed myself, and then we'll be back to this project tomorrow. It's a new day and I am here in my utility room. I want to sort out the ribbons on my very jazzy puppy bag, which I've got to say I'm even more pleased with today than I was yesterday. Some of the ribbons are looking a little bit ropey, particularly on the ends, and I want to sort that out. First thing to do is to give them a quick iron so that we get rid of any creases in them. Got my mini ironing board, which I don't actually have a cover for, so I will be ironing today atop my dressing gown, and I'm just gonna lie each of these ribbons down and try and iron them as flat as possible before we sort out the edges. I probably should have ironed them before I sewed them onto the bag, but I reserve the right to do things in an order that doesn't really make sense. Much better. Now we can move back into the art room to finish off doing these ribbons. Some conflict here. This one's got the chair. Having cats is an endless power struggle. She's won the chair wars just by virtue of being so cute. I'm gonna sit on the uncomfortable stool instead. You happy with that? She'll probably jump up soon anyway because I'm going to be talking and making noise and she won't like it. So we'll see how long this lasts. Now that all of my ribbons are ironed, I just want to recut and tidy up the bottoms of them. And the way I do this with ribbons is I put a little coat of Mod Podge over the fabric, let that dry, and then when you cut into it, it doesn't fray. I know that you can do that also by putting a lighter to it and just singeing the edges, but I've tried that once in the past and it was a little bit tricky. So I prefer this method. Mod Podge doesn't take too long to dry, so these should be ready to cut quite quickly. Are people going to think I'm a dog breeder if they see me wearing this out? I hope not. While I let these ones dry, I'm going to move on to making a little bag charm to go on the back of the bag. And since we got so many rosettes going on here, but none of them were made by me, I need to right that wrong, I fear. And I'm going to make my own little mini dog rosette to hang off of that zip pull. And I think I'm going to do that with some of my charity shop ribbon because this bluey lilac colour is a good width for this, and it also goes decently well with the lilac of the bag. I've never made a rosette before, but I don't think it can be too much harder than folding ribbon. If I just pleat it round on itself, is that how I would do it? Where's my pins at? Pins, pins, pins. Oh, they're right here. What an idiot. It's fiddly. Ah. 5 minutes later and I've just been fiddling around with this and making an absolute dog's dinner of it. Has anyone watching ever made a rosette before? If so, how did you do it? Why is this so hard? Okay, so this is as far as I've got and it looks shoddy. Where do you get off on being so slippery? Stay. Oh, shit. This is making me irrationally angry. I genuinely thought I was going to pop this rosette together in 5 minutes, but it has not turned out that way. Now I've got a little stack of pleats. My thought is I just pull them out like this. This isn't right. This fly will not leave me alone. Do I smell? Okay, trying a different tactic because constantly trying to pinch this with my fingers and it's slipping away. It's starting to drive me insane. So I'm gonna sew as I go and just try and make this into a rosette-ish shape. Whether or not it is gold puppy standard, well, that's yet to be seen, but I think maybe this is the way to go because obviously the thread will stop it from constantly coming undone, and that is really really half the battle. So let me get my stitches in all of this until I've got a little circle, and then I'll be back to you. Well, after that absolute saga, I've ended up with something that looks somewhat like a recognizable rosette. So I'm gonna take that as a win. And now we just need a little central disc, which I'm not sure what I'm gonna make that out of. I know that I want to put my little BF signature on here. So I think if I get maybe a button, this purple might work well. So I can wrap that round there. Just write BF on it in a fine liner. Don't see why that wouldn't work. I always like for my initial kind of signature on things to be kind of messy and just in my regular handwriting. And actually the ink didn't bleed like I thought it would. So that's good. That was just going to be my test one. So I'm going to literally cover this in this fabric, write the new BF on, and then attach it to the rosette. Just need to cut out the tiniest little corner of this purple. One fabric covered button. This isn't a fabric pen or anything, this is just a regular fine liner that I had. I like red and purple together, so I think it's a nice little contrast. That'll do nicely. Okay, this is what it looks like so far. I don't know, does it even look like a rosette or does it look more like a flower? It doesn't really matter, it's only a zip pull at the end of the day. I've cut off the excess of this purple ribbon at the back, and now I'm just gonna sew it into a hoop at the top to attach it to the actual zip. I feel like bag charms are having a real moment right now. Everyone on my TikTok For You page seems to be going feral over those Labubu things. But a bag charm is probably one of the easiest little projects you could do and make with all sorts of different nonsense. So if you're looking for one, I would encourage to try and DIY rather than buy new. Wonderful. I need to leave this to dry and I can move my attention back to my bag because all the ribbons on here have now dried. So we can get on to trimming them down into a lovely finished shape. You can kind of see where the glue is on them, but it's so subtle that it really doesn't matter at all. With them having this coating of the Mod Podge on it, it just makes it so much easier to cut and just gives a beautiful crisp edge. So I will finish off all of these, and I'd better get going on the actual clothing portion of this outfit because that's the bit that I'm the least confident in. I don't know how well it's going to turn out. Okay, so because I'm not quite sure how this is going to look or how it's going to work, I think the best first step is for me to put my shirt on and we can assess from there. It's on and this is what we're working with. The shirt isn't quite as long as I imagined it would be when I saw it in the shop, but it does have a decent length to it. And basically what I think I want to do is wear this with tights. I like that this is a long sleeve shirt because it means if it's a chilly day I can put a long sleeve top underneath for warmth. And I also realised yesterday that I have this knit vest which I made last year or the year before with the help of this series of YouTube videos, which I can highly recommend for beginner knitters. And it's obviously green, so I wondered whether I could integrate it into this outfit and wear it over the top of my shirt like so. You can obviously see that I never got round to weaving in the ends of this, despite the fact that I have worn it. I've just been tucking them in, so I thought that this video was actually a good excuse for me to get that done as well. So I'm thinking what I need to do is make either a skirt to go underneath or ideally attach a skirt to the shirt so it's like an all-in-one dress that I can then bedazzle with a load of ribbons. I am having slight second thoughts about this selection of fabric. I'm not sure how well it would work attached onto the bottom of this, whether it would just look kind of shoddy. I could possibly attach it from this type of height. Unsure. I think I need a few minutes to mull this over. Perhaps simpler is better with just a little bit of gathering. I really don't know. I think I should do some pinning and try out some different shapes before I commit to anything. Shorts. If I wear these, then at least if the skirt falls apart in the middle of the day, I will have protected my dignity at least somewhat. I'm just seeing how many gathers we can get in whilst still being able to get this round my waist. I hope I have enough fabric here. Wow, that is dowdy. It's giving Sound of Music curtain dresses, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not exactly what I'm going for either. And then if the bottom was up like that, how do I feel about this? This is all just kind of roughly shoved in place. I've been using the shorts to kind of get the length right. And you know what? I don't hate it. I quite like this poofy shape, kind of giving Elizabethan bloomers at the moment, which is a look that I very much appreciate. I don't know whether I'll be able to keep this volume once I've sewed it, but I'm certainly going to endeavour to, because I'm feeling like a Mayday Blackadder right now, which can only be a good thing. Take this off my body and stitch down these pleats that I've made around the waistband, and we'll take it from there. Needle and thread. I do promise that when it comes to making actual clothes, I will do it on my actual sewing machine, but I think for this project we can get away with hand stitching because I just prefer it. Maybe this wasn't such a bad fabric choice after all, because it is nice and sturdy, which means I'm not at risk of breaking it as I sew, which is a good thing. Also, it is handy that it's striped fabric because I can use the stripes as a guide for straight stitches. Anyone watching who does make clothes, what do you think is a good first type of garment to try and make? And do you have any pattern recommendations? Kind of been a lifelong dream to be able to do it, and it's always felt out of my reach. But something about doing this YouTube channel has made me feel more confident to just give things a go. I actually do get quite a lot of comments from people saying they like watching me because it reminds them that the things that they make don't always have to be perfect, and just to try things out. And honestly, I love those comments so much, and I want to embrace that as my persona. A kind of slapdash person with some vision and some skill, a willingness to try, and an openness to fail. I'm only sewing down a couple of inches so that the skirt keeps that poofy tulip shape, because I've decided I want to lean into the Elizabethan bloomer thing. One done. This is how it looks from the front, so that's pretty neat. And I'm just going to go along and do the same thing along all of these gathers at the top here, and then we'll do another fitting, shall we? Okay, well that took a while, but it's done, and it's definitely giving curtain still, but it's actually a pretty good fit around my waist, and I think it hangs quite nicely. By the way, as far as fastenings go, I'm not super keen on putting in a zip or anything because frankly I can't be arsed. So I might just do some hook and eyes or a button or something at the waistband and let it hang kind of loose with a slip, do a little Angelina Jolie, because I will be wearing shorts underneath it anyway. Quite pleased with my craftsmanship. Lovely neat stitches here, and I think actually before I do the length I'm just gonna press down the insides of these so that we don't have all these bulges coming out the back. Okay, so I've given the whole thing a good iron. Now that's sitting better around the waist. I will add something around the waistband, some of this trim stuff that I've got, just to make it nice and sturdy up top. But now, like I said, I need to do the cutting portion of this, which is the bit that I'm worried that I'm going to do wrong. At the moment it's kind of a midi length, and I think I do want it to be somewhat of a mini, just long enough to cover up my cycling shorts. I'll pin one end, then take it off and pin the whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to need to have the back hem a little bit lower than the front to account for arse room. I'll try this first. A little bit tricky to do this now the pleats are in, but we will survive. I think maybe I've been overcomplicating the idea of making clothes in my head because I don't have the technical skills yet for pattern cutting, and because I don't know about all the different fabrics and things. I've kind of just been telling myself that it's out of my reach, but perhaps I need to take more of the same ethos that I put into art into clothes making, which is just trying out different things and not necessarily being wedded to a rule book, because anything pinned or draped around your body is clothing at the end of the day. I don't know why I would need it to be any better than when I make curtains or homewares, for example. And this project is kind of opening my eyes to that. I don't think that this skirt's going to become an everyday piece in my wardrobe, but if I can make it decently enough, then maybe I can have it as my official May Day skirt, crack it out every year. Or maybe I can unpin it and make something else out of this. Once you realise that you you can make things yourself. I feel like the world is your oyster. You don't have to keep depending on brands or other people to provide you with things. And I do like the idea of being a lot more self-sufficient, because the future of the world seems quite uncertain. Now seems a good time to try and master this skill. I've been watching Lena Norms on YouTube for years, and I really love her content. And I've been seeing her going on a sewing journey for the last few years, learning how to make pieces for her wardrobe. And it's been quite inspiring because I've seen her go from a complete amateur to what I would consider now pretty well accomplished at making garments that she wants to wear. And I would love to be able to emulate that success. Right. That's pinned. Looks awful from the back. Let's put it back on and see what the length is saying. Certainly voluminous. I need to take into account as well that the waistband will be a bit lower than it is now. From the front, I think that's good. Do I want to go a little bit lower at the back? Maybe. I'm gonna run into my bedroom and have a little look-see in the mirror. So come with me, why don't you? I'm pleasantly surprised. It's obviously got a lot of extra weight on it at the moment because the underside of it is pinned and it won't be there. It's kind of cute. It's quite circusy. Let me put the green shirt back on actually. It's a bit of a weird ensemble, but I'm happy with the length for the most part. There's some bits where it goes up and down a little bit dodgily, but that's just shoddy pinning. And I will make sure that it's not like that when I sew it. I'm happy enough. And now I'll get my scissors out. I'm anxious about this. We can cut off a good 20 centimeters of fabric, I think. And then perhaps I could use that for the fastening or the waistband or something. And I'm going to be very careful to cut as straight as possible along the grain. My attention to details with this kind of thing is not always good, so I'm trying my darndest. I was thinking I could add some elastic and make this a bubble hem, but I quite like the way it's hanging without the elastic. So I don't think I'm going to do that, but perhaps I'll change my mind once I see it cut. Ooh, my leftover scrap tells me that I did cut that straight, which is wonderful. I'm getting overly confident now, which is maybe risky because pride always comes before a fall. Although actually, you know what? I think that's kind of a toxic saying because there's nothing wrong with feeling pride in something that you do. I feel like I've been socialized female, obviously, with like a pathological need to be perceived as humble. Sometimes I am pleased with myself. So now I'm just going to do a straight stitch all along this bottom hem to make sure we're not going to get any unraveling. This bit will probably take me quite a while because we're hand sewing again. I know it would be quicker on the machine, but by the time I've got it out and stuff, my excitement for the process just disappears. And I'm listening to music and enjoying myself. I have a Zoom meeting at 6 p.m, which is in 20 minutes time. So I think this is probably the last check-in I'm going to have time to do today. So I'll come back to you tomorrow and we can finish off this skirt, finish off our bag and be done with this project, hopefully. It's a new day and Sunday has won the seating battle today. She got there first, so I'm on the uncomfortable stool until she jumps off. And I went to the shops this morning to get the things that I needed to be able to finish my skirt and bag. So let's do a little haul. Firstly, I got some fabric glue for fixing the front of that rosette. I got some hemming tape for the bottom. I got some bias binding in this minty green colour, which I'm thinking I might use for the waistband or I might not, but it's good to have as an option. And then for fastenings I got a few options because the plan is to leave the slit of this open and just fasten it at the waistband because like I said, I don't want to do a zip or anything in this. I can't be asked. So yeah, D-rings as one option, and then option 2, which I think is what I'm going to use, I got 2 kilt straps, which I do think would be nice at the top of this as well. So that's my haul, and here is how the skirt's looking as of this morning. I did all of the stitching on the underside of this hem yesterday, so I just need to tape and then do a few stitches in place to secure it and then do the waistband and the fixture. And where shall I start? Maybe let's do the waistband first and try out this to see if I can make it look half decent. I'm thinking I'm going to first use a strip of this on the underside of it to make sure that it's strong enough to sew my kilt straps onto, and then use the bias binding on top of that just to finish off that edge. That's the solution I've come up with. What do I think about that? feeling a bit confused because I don't know what I'm doing, as I've stated many times. But continuing with the DIY approach, I think, is the best option, as long as it fits around my body and doesn't fall apart. So I'm going to pin this in place. So that makes it kind of like a big apron. And then the bias would go over everything. I know that these greens don't match, but I quite like the contrast in them. Pinning is my best friend, because if I can make it look half decent pinned and then I just sew where the pins are, then it will look half decent when it's finished. Okay, so I've pinned all of that along the underside, and then I will just fold this over the whole thing, and the front will look like this. And I think that looks good. So let's just bloody stitch it in place, and if I mess up, cover it in some ribbons. I have sewn all along the underside here. Not the neatest, but you're not going to see this bit. Now I just need to fold this bias binding over the front and neatly stitch it down. So I will show you how that looks when it's done. Waistband secured, I did invisible stitches all along the edge of this bias binding, so it does look quite neat and tidy, which I'm very pleased with. And now it is really coming together. I've got to say, there's something very 2003 about this colour scheme. It's like the way they would have decorated a bedroom in changing rooms, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Next up, I think I need to figure out the closure on this. We are going to go with the kilt straps. I also was thinking where this split is, I could potentially add another panel of this extra fabric that I've got left over, because I didn't end up using it for the waistband, just to minimise the flashing risk. And maybe I could do that with a contrasting horizontal stripe. Maybe I will pin that in now before I add these. Yes. This is the point of the project that I really like, when things are kind of coming together and you can start adding bits on where needed. I'm thinking maybe I'll pleat this one a bit more so it's a little bit more gathered than the rest of it. A little bit shorter, I think, than the rest of the skirt. It's good to have a little bit of extra wiggle room around the waist. I don't want to be watching my food intake on the day, and I think I will want to wear this again in the future, and who knows what size I'll be. So making it just a little bit wider will allow for some wiggle room and some versatility. Let me go and iron this quickly and then I'll be back. Okay, ironed. Something like this. Some time has gone by and I've just been sewing in my little pleated panel here. I've added some bias binding on the underside on one side, and then I'm going to attach it to the existing skirt. I think perhaps finishing the skirt is going to take me the rest of the day, because it's already 3:30. So we might need to extend this project onto tomorrow as well, because I've still got to finish the bag charm, weave in the ends on my knit vest, and also decorate things with ribbons. But I'm just really enjoying constructing this skirt, and now I've put so much effort into it, I don't want to rush all of the finishing details. Here is our little tiny pleated panel. That took quite a while to do, but it's come out nicely. It's not really going to be uber visible most of the time because the skirt will still close over it, but it just means that when I walk there's a little bit of extra give and a little bit of extra something. Just got this last edge to do here, and I'm going to finish this off with my last bit of bias binding that I had left. I bought 2 meters and it's turned out to be basically the perfect length, and it's always satisfying when you accidentally buy the right amount of something. So it goes from this to this. Lovely finished edge there. Here's the back of our pleated panel and the front. The only bit that is a little bit messy is I cut the bias binding a bit too short, so I had to kind of do a dodgy sew up job in between them, but this bit's going to be hidden anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just a shame because the rest of it is so surprisingly well constructed, if I do say so myself. Now I just need to hem the bottom, and I'm going to do that with some more of my hemming tape and just a few little stitches every now and then to make sure that it doesn't come undone. I hope I've been explaining things at least semi-coherently. Obviously this is not a tutorial video. I think even if you asked me to make this skirt again I'd struggle, because I've just been making it up and haven't really been paying too much attention to what I'm doing at any point. But I'm feeling rather chuffed with myself. Let's hem this bad boy. Done. Now that hem is not going to fall down. I've just done a few odd stitches every so often along the bottom. They're visible but not easily noticeable. And now I just need to finish off this top bit, cut this down and add my kilt straps. And then I think that will be me done for the day, because I've been like lurching over the table all day stitching and I am so very achy at this point. But we have made very good progress today, and even though I'm not finishing, I'm very confident that in one more day I will be able to finish, which is excellent news. I'm just going to stitch this little corner closed so that that is nice and tidy. Good enough. Now for these kilt straps. These are like a pleathery material. I do have leather needles, so I will use those for this. I think first I should pin them on because I don't know precisely where they want to go. Would have been nice if they had a green option in the shop, but they did not, so black will have to do. Maybe I should pin it when it's not on my body so that I don't pierce my skin. I think by the time I factored in all of the bits and bobs that I bought for this skirt, it's probably going to be about £10 worth, because the fabric was £1. These two buckles were £5, and then I got a mix of ribbons and things. So that's not a bad price. I think that's okay. It's a good fit, but it's not skin tight to where I won't be able to breathe. And obviously these are adjustable at least slightly, and I could potentially in the future stab some new holes through if my size changes.
And she's sharing that with you?
Fuck. Ta-da! It's basically done. I actually only ended up adding one of the kilt straps because I didn't think it needed to, and now I can use that other one on something else. I also added a little bit of Velcro on this overflow bit here just to make sure that the waistband sits nice and straight, and I must admit that I am probably the most proud of this than I have been of anything else I've made in the last like year, only because like I said I don't make clothes, and I am shocked with myself at how well this has come out. It looks like a skirt that you might buy from a shop, and that is what we call successful. I'm also now wondering how much of the embellishing I want to do on this, because I was so much imagining that this was going to come out rubbish. I was just going to absolutely cover it in ribbons to hide all of my mistakes, but now I'm like, this is something I can wear a lot, so do I want to do that? I think I need to sit and think about it for a while and instead move attention back on to my other elements of the outfit. I'm thinking I can add a lot of these little green bows onto the collar of this shirt because that's the main bit that's going to be visible, and I'm also going to add a lot of these light ones up along the strap of this bag because there is some staining on it that I want to cover up. I also need to finish off my rosette zip pull and maybe add some other elements as well. I was considering, like I said, painting something onto the back of this, possibly a Tibetan spaniel to match back into this, but now I'm like, is that necessary? And am I better off just plonking this on here, adding my bows on the strap and calling it a day on that? When you don't have a specifically solid vision starting out, you have to be open to the fact that plans will morph and change as you go. So I think let's start out by finishing off my bag charm, because all I need to do now is attach it on to my zip. Rusty. Okay, that's on. And now I'll use, I think, a little bit of my smaller yellow ribbon to just wrap around that top bit and make it look nice and tidy. I feel like bag charms have the potential to be my new obsession. Kind of like Christmas decorations in that they're just little and small and fun to do. Done. Very nice. Now let's sew a load of these bows onto this strap. How spaced out do I want these to be? I was thinking I was going to go over the whole strap with kind of even spacing, but now I'm wondering whether I want to do a little bit more of a random spread. So I'm just going to pin a mix of them around the place, step back and look at it, and then decide. I've got to remember that there's no correct way to do this. Maybe I want to do one side of the strap with lots of bows and then the other side with just a few to cover up these stains. I'm definitely realising that I've bought more ribbons than I needed, but I will always use ribbons in the future. I'm not going to be able to try this on to see how it looks like until these are stitched down. Otherwise I'm going to end up very scratched up, which I want to avoid. I'll do two really close together. One darker green one there. Do I want more? I'm a bit worried that this video is going to be quite scatterbrained because usually as I'm filming, I try and keep up with my editing as I go, so I have an idea of how the video is shaping up and what points I need to touch on. But because this one was kind of a last minute decision and something that I needed to get done in a few days, I haven't reviewed any of the footage that I've already filmed, and I'm going to be editing it all together after the time of the event. So I only hope that what I have shot has been coherent and I haven't been repeating myself too much. This is the first video I've done that's on a more kind of clothing-y focused thing, so I don't know how much of my audience will be interested in it, but I kind of just want this channel to be about making and creativity in whatever form I'm doing at that time, because my obsessions do tend to change rapidly. There's a few stains on the back of this bag as well, so let's ribbon them. That I think will do for the back. So I'm going to stitch these down quickly and then I will report back. Okay, done. We've got a nice scattering of ribbons now. I may potentially add a few more later if I'm bored and want to, but for now I'm happy with the balance of them. Next, what I think I'll do is get this rosette fixed with my new fabric glue and weight that down somewhere to dry for a while I embellish the collar of my green shirt. Okay, done. I just ended up doing 3 little bows on each side, and I'm thinking I'll do 1 more each on the very tip of the collar, just like so. By the time I've stitched these 2 last ones on, I think our bag should be fully dry and I can move on to doing the last few little touches on that. It's all coming together. Done. Now that my bag is dry, I just want to do a couple more silly things to it. A little bit of scribbling over the bag basically with my red fine liner to match back into my BF here. I think on the underside of this flap, I'm just going to do kind of a monogram of my BF signature in a scrawly, scratchy kind of way. And I'm mainly doing this just because I'm not quite ready to let this project go yet and I fancy doing something else. So I'm just going to do loads of BFs on the inside flap of this in no particular neat order, just riffing off the idea of branded bags and the fact that all these big designers feel the need to shove their name everywhere. Louis Vuitton could never have such stunning craftsmanship as this. Obviously this is on an inside flap, so it really doesn't matter whether it looks great or not. It's just a little detail for myself really. So I'm just going to fill in this whole panel here with my monogram. Done. And isn't that classy? So luxe. Hermes, eat your heart out. I really do encourage anyone who likes making things for themselves to think of some sort of personal branding that you can put on your objects. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, but I really do. Now, the only other thing I want to do on this is do a little bit of scribbling on the bottom, and I think I want to make this say Beige Flannel Kennel Club to tie back into the general dog theme of the bag. Just going to do it on one side of the bottom here. Don't overthink, just do. Colouring in this bag is kind of reminding me of those teddy bears that we had in the 90s that you could colour in with pens and then put through the wash and then colour them in again. It's giving me the same sensation. I forgot that I actually also wanted to make a tag for the inside of my skirt because where I sewed those kilt straps onto the waistband, it looks a bit messy on the underside now, so I thought I could cover it up with a little label, and I think I have enough time to do that today. Although I do still need to weave in the ends on my sweater vest, but I think I'll do that off camera in the next couple of days because that's a nice evening bed kind of task. So chic. Okay, she's done. So I will see you tomorrow for a peek at the full get-up. I did intend to film a proper outro for this video on the day that I was getting dressed, but I ended up not doing that because I had friends over and I just couldn't bear the thought of talking to the camera while other people were in earshot. So you're getting this delightful voiceover ending with awkward posing montage instead. I ended up being really pleased with how this outfit came together, and I had a lovely May Day out in the slightly cold, slightly overcast UK spring weather wearing it. I'm very aware that it's not high fashion and there's certainly things that I would change, first of which just being a pair of green tights, but ultimately I achieved what I set out to, and maybe even more, because now I have a newfound sense of confidence in my ability to learn and make more clothes in the future. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you again soon-ish for another video, which actually will be the stair styling video that I was supposed to be making when I made this. For now though, I will just say goodbye!